Hello my 500 comrades! Welcome back to my channel, the Cursed Prince of Elbaph, also known as Big Mom's almost son-in-law. Loki has started to show his cunning side. Upon realizing that Luffy has some close connection to red-haired Shanks, he immediately made an offer. Luffy wanted to know why Shanks came to Elbaph and if he was still here, alright? But only on the condition that Luffy must go to the tree village, find the treasure, and the key to unlock Loki's Sea Prism Stone chains. However, Loki's attitude suggests that once freed, he might not share the information Luffy desires. In fact, Loki even contemplates killing Luffy immediately. A sinister figure wielding a hammer reminiscent of Thor's. Oda seems to be crafting a Loki character as close to Norse mythology as possible. Although his personality is somewhat twisted, he bears a striking resemblance to Luffy. In One Piece, aside from Luffy, no one else gets others' names wrong until Loki appeared, calling Luffy Loppy. Loki also claims himself to be the Reincarnated Sun God of the Kingdom of Elbaph, suggesting his reverence for Nika and belief in the giant's legend. Perhaps Loki isn't as evil as he's believed to be, or maybe he's an enigma. His actions in Elbaph seem instinctual. What if there's a hidden story behind the accusation of killing his father for a devil fruit? Perhaps it's a legendary power passed down through Elbaph's royal lineage. Logically speaking, Loki should be the inheritor of this power, so why did he commit such a heinous crime? Could it be that Loki's father intended to defy the giant's destiny? And what exactly is this legendary devil fruit? In today's video, One Piece nerd and all of you will dive deeper into this fascinating topic. First, let's talk about Loki's personality. His childhood truly shaped who he is today. Interestingly, Loki shares many similarities with Luffy, and I'm not just referring to the habit of misnaming others. That's merely a humorous touch Oda added. What I want to highlight is Loki's self-discipline. Remember when Luffy was trained by his grandfather using what could only be called inhumane methods? Like being thrown off cliffs or left in the forest to survive. That's how Luffy developed his tough-as-nails spirit. He tamed all the wild animals in the forest behind Mount Fuchsia during his training. Loki is quite similar. He says that the giant monsters in the battlefield have been his friends since childhood. This indicates that Loki has been training there since he was young, taming and befriending wild beasts. Both Luffy and Loki aspire to be the freest beings. You're not mistaken. Despite their differences, Nika and the Pirate King share the same essence. According to Luffy, the freest person on the sea is the Pirate King. He wants to become the Pirate King because he believes that's the path to achieving a dream Oda has yet to reveal. Meanwhile, Loki believes in the legend of the Sun God in Elbaph. Though Loki hasn't mentioned the name, everyone understands the Sun God is Nika. Nika is the warrior of liberation, the embodiment of freedom. That's why I say both Loki and Luffy strive for freedom. Whether it's as the Sun God or the Pirate King, it's the same. Another intriguing detail is that the adversaries Luffy has faced before never stated what they wanted to become or who they aspired to be. But Luffy, whenever he meets someone, always proclaims, "I'm Monkey D, Luffy, the man who will become Pirate King." Yet when he met Loki, Loki didn't introduce himself as the Prince of Elbaph. Instead, he said, "I'm Loki, the reincarnated sun god of this land." Two individuals, a giant and a tiny human, have nearly identical dreams. The scene where Luffy casually lies on Loki's lap, laughing and chatting, is often overlooked, but Luffy rarely does that with villains. Recall during his observation hockey training with Rayleigh, Luffy mentioned he cared about understanding the nature of his opponents. Now, with his advanced observation hockey at its peak, why can't he discern what kind of person Loki truly is? Loki deliberately insulted Shanks to provoke Luffy, merely to test his strength. Luffy had subdued the monsters far too quickly and effortlessly. However, prior to that, the two had a pleasant conversation. Luffy even lay on Loki's lap, resting his head on his arm and laughing cheerfully. Honestly, I've never seen Luffy interact so amicably with an antagonist before. This raises further doubts about the story of Loki killing his father to seize the devil fruit, a fruit that should have been rightfully passed down to him. There's a strong possibility that there's an untold backstory behind this incident. I've discovered a fascinating story connected to a king named Harold, the late King Harold of Elbaph. Introduced in chapter 1130, we were told that his son, Loki, killed him to obtain the legendary devil fruit, yet King Harold hasn't even appeared. So how can we truly understand his character? This leads me to believe that delving into world history might be the key to this mystery. It's possible that Oda modeled King Harold on the real-life chronicles of Harald Hardrada. Harald Hardrada, also known as Harald Sigurdsson, son of Sigurdsson, is regarded as one of the greatest Viking warriors in history. Crowned as Harald III, Hardrada was the heir to Norway's first king, Harald Fairhair. However, his path to the throne wasn't easy. He had to fight for it. In 1028, he and his half-brother Olaf were exiled after a rebellion against their father. Hardrada fled to Kievan Rus, where he was welcomed by a distant relative, Yaroslav the Wise. Recognizing Hardrada's potential, Yaroslav appointed him as the captain of his forces. This was when Hardrada's talents truly began to shine. He gradually established himself as a formidable warrior and earned the respect of his subordinates. Later, he went to Constantinople, where he became a general in the Varangian Guard. But wait, Constantinople was the capital of the Roman Empire and followed Christianity, while the Vikings were known for their disdain of Christianity. Why the contradiction? It's because Hardrada was actually a Christian baptized at birth. His ancestors had been part of mass conversions during previous wars. I believe this detail is one of the key elements to understanding Oda's inspiration and intentions for the character of King Harald of Elbaph. Looking at the way Loki is chained to the Atom Tree, I suspect that King Harald once sentenced Loki to crucifixion, a punishment traditionally associated with Roman Catholicism, not the Vikings. This raises doubts that King Harald in some way fell under the influence of the world government. Many Roman Catholic symbols are present in Mary Geoise, even the emblem of the world government itself. We even witnessed Figurland Garling employing crucifixion when executing Saint Mjosgard. The people of Elbaph worship many gods, but at the forefront are the god of war and Nika, the liberating warrior, also known as the Sun God. A deity named Elbaph was even mentioned by Dory during his conversation with Usopp in Little Garden. You can revisit that detail. Like the Vikings in the real world, the giants follow a polytheistic belief system. Meanwhile, the celestial dragons perceive themselves as divine beings, and countless people across the world fall for this deception. Ryokugyu exemplifies extreme faith in the gods of the Holy Land. I believe King Harald spent time in exile outside the world before returning to Elbaph and reclaiming the throne, akin to Harald Hardrada from real-world history. Judging by age, Loki's father might be on par with Jarul, who is now 409 years old. As such, little is known about his stories. During his travels outside, Harald likely encountered a different worldview, perhaps sowing doubts in his mind about his old faith, including the sun god Nika and Elbaph's giant folklore. These doubts might have deepened when Mother Caramel arrived in Elbaph and secretly exerted influence some 60 years ago. Around that time, Harald seemed to have returned from exile and reclaimed the throne. This detail aligns with history, where Harald Hardrada returned from Constantinople to reclaim the throne of Norway. If this is accurate, it's possible that King Harald fell under the influence of the world government and the celestial dragons, losing faith in Nika and forgetting Elbaph's mission. Harald wanted Elbaph to join the world government. Assuming this is true, it not only provides insight into this king, but also sheds light on what Loki experienced in the later flashbacks. Why did Loki kill his father despite being the rightful heir to the legendary devil fruit and the throne of Elbaph? Perhaps Loki wanted to become the successor to the title of Sun God rather than the king of a nation subordinate to the government. He reacted strongly upon witnessing his father betray the giant's faith and align with Nika's enemies from the past. Loki might have been so disgusted that he decided to kill his father to become the new leader. He believed himself to be the reincarnated sun god. It's also possible that Loki is connected to the D's initial, symbolizing freedom in his name. This is evident when Luffy introduces himself. Normally, Luffy would boldly proclaim, "I'm Monkey D. Luffy, the man who will become Pirate King." But this time, when Loki asked, Luffy simply replied, "Luffy, the future Pirate King." Did Oda forget? Certainly not. Every detail has its purpose. If Loki learned too soon or saw Luffy transform into Nika, the story wouldn't be as captivating, right? So everything must remain hidden until the right moment. Another mystery being concealed is the legendary devil fruit of Elbaph. Note, this is a legendary devil fruit, not a mythical Zoan. There's a story that has puzzled me. Is Gomu Gomu no Mi a name fabricated by the world government, or does a true rubber devil fruit exist? First, let's revisit some of the mythical Zoans that have been introduced. Alongside Logia or Paramecia fruits with comparable powers, the first pair includes Hito Hito no Mi, model Daibutsu of Sengoku, capable of releasing shockwaves similar to Kuma's, Niku Niku no Mi. The second pair features Marco's immortal, Tori Tori no Mi, model Phoenix, with the ability to heal himself and others, akin to the powers of the Tontada Princess Mancheri. Next is Kaido's Owo Wo no Mi, model Azure Dragon, in which breathes fire and summons lightning. Two noteworthy Logia powers belong to Sabo and Enel, but the most intriguing are Where Inu no Mi, model Nine-Tailed Fox, of Devon and Bon Clay's Biri, Mani no Mi. Superpowers are an additional trait that comes with every mythical Zoan, alongside the basic characteristics of Zoan types. The Hito no Mi, model Nika, is no exception. From this, we can deduce that a rubber devil fruit of the Paramecia type must exist. The world government renamed this fruit because in reality, the Gomu no Mi had long disappeared. The fruit vanished, yet its name still appears in the Devil Fruit Encyclopedia. A very peculiar fact, isn't it? Let me explain this in more detail. It means there's a Paramecia type, Gomu no Mi, listed in the dictionary, while the Hito no Mi, model Nika, was removed. However, the Nika fruit reappeared and miraculously escaped the grasp of the world government, whereas the true Gomu fruit completely vanished. Thus, the government altered the encyclopedia's contents, replacing the Gomu fruit's image with the Nika fruit. The government did this because they believed the Gomu fruit's abilities were quite ordinary, making it less desirable, a way to minimize risks. But why the confusion? Because anyone who eats this mythical Zoan immediately gains Nika's powers. Nika is a deity whose body possesses rubber-like properties. This is the associated superpower. However, the Hito no Mi, model Nika, is unique in that to become the sun god, the wielder must awaken its powers. This might also be a shared trait of mythical Zoans from the Hito no Mi lineage. For instance, Sengoku awakened to become the Great Buddha. Since this devil fruit hadn't awakened for centuries, as stated by the Gorosi, everyone assumed it was merely the Gomu no Mi, with unimpressive abilities. The world government did this to facilitate reclaiming the fruit if it ever reappeared. However, the true Gomu no Mi has always remained in Elbaph, a nation completely isolated from the world. This devil fruit is deemed legendary because its rubber abilities are inherently linked to Nika, the sun god of legend. The people of Elbaph deeply revere Nika, so the power of the Gomu fruit was passed down exclusively through the royal line, never falling into outsiders' hands. This allowed the government to easily perpetuate the lie that Hito no Mi, model Nika, was actually Gomu no Mi. Moving on to Loki, he aspired to become the sun god and believed he was the reincarnation of the deity after 800 years, as told in the legend. The legendary rubber power of Nika was supposed to belong to Loki, so he sought to seize it. Naturally, to take someone's ability, you must kill them first. Loki committed this crime due to ideological differences with his father. In other words, Loki is currently wielding the real Gomu no Mi's power. I started pondering this theory when Luffy attacked Loki using Gear 4. He didn't call out the move's name, a rather unusual occurrence. While Gear 4 is an older technique, it's hard to believe that Luffy, in his anger, simply forgot to name it. Additionally, Luffy didn't reveal the D in his name or mention Gomu, both of which are tied to Loki. Perhaps this is why Oda deliberately concealed it. If Loki were to hear Gomu no or see Luffy retract his arm, he'd question, why does this kid have my power? That would undermine the story's suspense. Thus, everything has to remain hidden until the right moment. Oda is making the story increasingly captivating and unpredictable. It would be even more thrilling if the battle with Katakuri was revisited in a more advanced version. Katakuri once mimicked Luffy's moves thanks to the power of the Mochi no Mi. Now, if Loki uses the legendary rubber ability to fight Nika, who also possesses a similar power, it's bound to be an epic showdown. Back in the Thriller Bark arc, we saw oars imbued with Luffy's shadow, using the Gomu no Mi's abilities. Perhaps this time, an even more impressive version will emerge. I believe Oda will make everything explosive when Loki discovers that Luffy has eaten the devil fruit he has long desired. I'm genuinely curious how Loki will react when he realizes that Luffy is the sun god Nika from legend. Truly, I can't wait to witness it. That's the entirety of my theory. Thank you all for watching until the end of the video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to support us. For now, goodbye and see you in the next video.